Hi, and welcome to the Mailgun and Mailjet Email Camp 2020. Today's session, we're going to be talking about puzzles and code cracking, finding the best times to send that email. My name is Eric. I'm going to be soon be joined here with Chris, and we're going to talk to you about understanding what is the best time to send your email. We're going to be in your Big and Little Dipper and showing you the way that is true. So so please stick around, join us, ask us questions along the way. We're super excited for y'all to be here. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let's introduce ourselves first, I guess. Chris, if you don't mind, sir, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, sir?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Chris, farmer. Everybody calls me farmer here. So I started my career in tech at Rackspace. Got my feet wet in support on the front lines. But I quickly became interested in product management and kind of moved into the PM role at Rackspace. And then I left Rackspace as part of an acquisition. And then shortly from there, heard the calling from Mailgun and joined as a technical account manager, and then helped start the product org here at Mailgun.
Right on, right on. My name is Eric Trinidad, and I am a technical account manager currently here at Mailgun. I too started at Rackspace with Chris on the technical side of the house, frontline support. I went the account management route. I started with our account management team at Rackspace. Then I went to Office 365 segment, their managed services, and then I too heard the calling from Mailgun because it's pretty loud. So I joined Chris here as a technical account manager. And also, I am a co-host for our Mailgun podcast, Email's Not Dead. Please find us, subscribe, listen to wherever you listen to your podcast. So what are we doing here today? This is this is email camp. We're going to talk to you a little bit about what do you need to go ahead and get started. We're going to get super campy with this and understand the provisions you need to take and what's going to be, your checklist and what do you need to take along the way and some special tools that we can offer you if you get started. But first, it's dangerous to go out there alone. Let us help you. Let's get this started. What do you need to go camping? Chris, I know you go camping quite often. You're a hiker, you're an enthusiast, you've been on the trails. Really quick, what do we got to do to get started?
Yeah, sure. So obviously you need some common necessities when you go camping. So obviously you need something to sleep in. So you need your tent, you need a sleeping bag. You probably need a backpack. I've got mine right here. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Cooler, food, something to cook with, eating utensils. So, all the basic necessities that you would need to go. And, similarly, when you're sending out a campaign, there's some common necessities that you need to send out an email campaign. So ensuring that you have, proper domain authentication, good sending reputation, a great subject line, but not clickbaity. Relevant. Yeah. So you want to make sure the content is, geared towards your readers, making sure that what they signed up for is what they're getting. Contacts, you want your messages. So people who have actually signed up and asked for you to send them content is important. Unsubscribe links, in case they don't want your content anymore. It's very important to do that, so you don't get spam complaints instead.
Yeah.
And then you want CTAs. For obviously most people are trying to sell something, so you want to have your CTA that clicks over to your website or to buy something, etc. And then you want images, right? But not too many. You want a good image to text ratio. So yeah, these are some of the things that some of the common necessities that you would need for a successful email campaign or a successful camping trip.
Yeah. A lot of these are great points. I know as a technical account manager, that's a lot of the things that we cover just from go of just getting started, understanding building that relationship and knowing your audience and having that good, relationship built off, good opt-ins, making sure that there's a call to action in their email. What are they doing? What do you want your customers to do? Do you want them to click? Do you want to go to a site? Is there a sale going on? Making sure you're knowledgeable. And of course, you're not leading them in the wrong direction. I guess, Chris, real quick, if we were to go on a camping trip right now, is my attire, you feel like this is okay? I have a nice flannel shirt on. I think you do too. It looks good, so, but, I guess, what about this? I got a kilt on. Is that camping appropriate, you think?
I mean, I guess if we're going to go hike through Big Bend again, it's hot,
yeah.
A little bit.
All right, sir. All right. Well, then, I guess moving on. What do we need as far as like, knowing where we're going? Now we got our provisions. We're all good to go. What's next?
Yeah, so I mentioned Big Bend. I actually went to Big Bend last year in April, and we did a 3 day. We did the Outer Mountain Loop. It was a 3 day, 2 night, 30 mile backpacking trip through the desert, essentially.
Hmm.
So one of the things that we really needed was a map to make sure that we know where we're going. And how that kind of relates back to email is knowing your audience. So knowing who you're talking to, knowing where you're going with your content, etc. And so with that said, once you know your audience, you want to do some things to help increase engagement. So things like segmentation, making sure that you're segmenting, by your most active users, or users that are buying certain items, etc. And then going on beyond segmentation and then personalizing. So making sure they use their name,
Yeah.
sending them content based on what they're buying or what they're interested in. Dynamic content, like I said, changing the content based on what the readers are interested in or what they're buying.
Yeah.
Uh, Proper frequency. So if you have people that are super engaged, you might want to send to them more often. If people are less engaged, you want to send to them less often.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's another thing that always gets brought up with me as well is just people just automatically just sending all the time. If there's a mailbox, they've signed in, they really signed up for this stuff, so let's just hit them all day, every day. But there's mailbox fatigue. You want to make sure that I don't want to I love going to Best Buy, but I don't want to get ads every single day, all day, telling me like, hey, you got to come and buy this right now. It has to be at the right time. What am I interested? What have I been clicking on? Something that's personal. It's going to say, hey, Eric, remember that time you looked at that iPad? It's coming out soon. You might want to come by and check us out. Something more personal. But I think that goes right into your next point here is right time. Like,
yep.
when is the right time to send that message?
Exactly. When is the right time? That's exactly what we're here to talk about. Obviously, you've probably seen other ESPs reports or other companies' reports on when is the best time to send email. So there are definitely some better days and better times to send an email to maximize your engagement in general, right? So
Hmm.
a map is a good way to look at what are the main trails, and obviously these are typically trails that people have traveled before. So I'm going to guide you into what that looks like. So we're going to take out your map. So here's so obviously I mentioned looking at a couple of other ESP reports on when is the best days, when are the best times to send an email. So I figured I would pull data off of the Mailgun platform as well and take a look. And I guess not surprisingly, it's pretty similar to what I've seen out there on the web. Tuesday through Thursday is the best time to send an email in terms of engagement. So we see the highest amount of opens and clicks between Tuesday and Thursday. Friday's not too bad too. So if you feel like sending on Fridays ahead of the weekend, that's a good option. But I guess not surprisingly, Sunday is the worst day. Nobody wants to read.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to read email on Sunday. They're out, outside with their family, having a barbecue, etc.
Mm.
And then Saturday, heading into the weekend, people are starting to wind down. So
Just overall throughout the week, weekends aren't the best time to send, but there's definitely some weekend warriors out there or 7 day, senders, making sure that people stay up to date on things. So that's, but that's not everybody, so that's
right.
why it dies off during the weekend.
Yep, exactly. And then if we look at the best hours to send, or time of the day to send, pretty much every single day. So this is interesting because there are a couple of other reports that I've seen that show different times to send are better on Saturdays and Sundays. But at least on the Mailgun platform, it looks like 1500, 3 p.m. UTC or 11 a.m. For us here in Central Time.
Yeah.
Is the best time to send an email with the most engagement. It's not the highest peak every single day, but it's at least number one or number two. But really anywhere between 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. UTC, a good target time frame to send an email for your best chance for engagement.
Yeah. So we know the days which are good to send. We know the hours of which are good to send. But is that really indicative of what an individual really wants to see?
Yeah.
Like what's the difference between you and I? I know I probably check my email when I get into the office around 11:30, even though my shift starts at 7. What about, and then Chris, I know you're probably right there first thing in the morning, 6 a.m. You're on top of it. You're on top of the game. So I guess we're here to talk about our tools that you can add to your tool belt and get this going, which is STO and TZO here.
Yeah. So like we mentioned, a map is good for people in general. This is what works for the majority of the people. These are the trails that most people are going to follow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about personalization, and one of the ways that you can personalize is sending to a recipient when they're actually engaged with the messages.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, like you said, we're gonna pull out our compasses, and we're gonna go off the trail a little bit. We're gonna do some things that not everybody else does. So we have two features called send time optimization and time zone optimization. And I'll kind of tell you how this works.
Right on.
So if you're sending a message to Mailgun and you enable STO or TZO, so what's going to happen is we're going to take that recipient. So let's say Eric at mailgun.com. We're gonna look at that. So we're gonna look at that recipient, and we're gonna look in our database and look at all the opens and clicks for Eric at mailgun.com. And don't worry, the emails are hashed. So what we do is we hash the email address that's coming in. So Eric at mailgun.com becomes a hashed entity, and then we're matching against our database for another hashed entity. And if we find a match, then we'll look up the data. So no worries about compromising email addresses. We've got all that taken care of. We're very, very secure here at Mailgun. But essentially, what we do is we look at the engagement data for that recipient, and we'll build a heat map for Eric. So if we see that Eric engages the most, around 11 a.m., the most opens and clicks for Eric, we'll actually queue that message and hold on to it, and then we'll deliver it at 11 a.m. And the idea here is readers are more apt to read emails that are above the fold. And so if we can deliver that message closer to when a user engages the mailbox, chances are that message is going to be above the fold, and the higher chance of that user engaging with that message. And then in turn, getting better ROI. So if people are seeing the message, they're going to open it, they're going to click it. They might be more apt to buy something from you. So increasing your open and clicks, and in turn your ROI on whatever you're doing through your CTAs. So does it actually work? Well, yes, it does. So I've got 2 actual senders on our platform, and I've pulled data sets for them. And if you look at sender 1, their open rates are roughly 38.5% for non-optimized messages, and the click rates are 7% on non-optimized messages. Now, if we apply STO, we see a bump up to 42, 43% opens and 8% clicks. So that represents almost 11% increase in opens and a 12% increase in clicks, which is pretty cool. If we're talking about, this sender is actually already sending at the highest engagement days and the highest engagement times. So they're already optimizing from that standpoint. But they're using STO to maximize that even further on top of that. So if we think about like a sending funnel, you're trying to widen the aperture, the entire funnel. STO helps you maximize the sending funnel towards the bottom of the funnel by sending the emails at the right time when users are most engaged. So then if we look at sender 2, again, on non-optimized messages, they're looking at 35% open rate and 1% click rate. And then if they apply STO, they're looking at 36 and 2% respectively. So it's plus 2% open rate, but it's a 80% increase on click rates. So as we look through the data, the uplift varies, but the uplift averages between 10 and 15% increase on open to clicks, which is a pretty healthy increase on open to clicks.
Yeah.
We've seen some that pop up as high as 25% on the open to clicks, and then obviously this one 80%. But definitely interesting, and it definitely does work to maximize your engagement.
Yeah, right on, right on. So it's not only saving, getting your messages at a timely fashion that your users want to receive that message at, but it's also got to save you some money as well because you're sending at a time you don't have to bombard your user because you know that they're going to get it, they're engaged. You don't have to keep sending them all those messages hoping that they're, it's going to be at top of mailbox when they actually open their phone or open their laptop whenever they do get that message.
Absolutely.
So I guess how do we use it now? How do we get connected?
Sure. So there's a couple different ways you can use both STO and TZO. So the first is API, and essentially what you do with STO is you send a parameter via the API. So this example, you can see the two lines in bold. The first one's for STO, the second one's for TZO. And essentially, what you do for STO is you'll pass a window. What that means, what that window means is that's the window of time that we're going to look at engagement. So if you send a message right now and you send a 24-hour window, we're going to look 24 hours in advance for engagement data. And if we have engagement data for that user, we're going to build the heat map, and then we're going to schedule the message for when they're most active. If we don't have data for that user, then we're going to send immediately. And the same thing happens the maximum window that we can do right now is 72 hours. So we can hold on to a message for up to 3 days. So if you want to look at engagement data for the next 3 days, we can actually hold on to that message for up to 3 days. And then the last line is for TZO, so time zone localized. So what TZO does is it looks at the IP addresses for the click events, and we'll look at the geo data for the IP address and then figure out what geography they're in, and then convert that into a time zone. And then it'll hold on to the message if you're scheduling it for, let's say 3 p.m. today. It's going to actually deliver 3 p.m. in their local time zone. Similar on the SMTP side, we provide the ability to send SMTP headers to enable both STO and TZO. So just to clarify, like both of these are enabled on a per message basis through the parameter for both API and SMTP. So yeah.
Great. So following best practices, this is just an add-on to that. It'll help you push you over the finish line. It'll get you to top of the pile here, top of the heap. It's not going to, if you're not following best practices, this isn't a fix-all for that, right?
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned best practices. That's a good point too. STO is not a silver bullet. STO will only work if your messages are already placing in the inbox. So if they're going to spam, it's not going to really do anything, unless the recipient's actually checking the spam folder all the time. But
yeah,
that obviously doesn't happen. So yeah, you have to be following best practices in order to get your messages into the inbox in order to benefit from STO. Like I said, it's towards the bottom of the funnel, so you've got to make sure that you're following all the best practices at the top of the funnel to making sure that your messages are getting A, delivered, and then B, delivered to the inbox versus spam folder. Good point.
Yeah, right on. Thank you, sir. Well, that was real quickly a high-level overview of the STO and TZO stuff that we have going on here. If you have questions, now is the time to do it. Please let us know. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Would you like to know more?
Would you like to know more?
Yes.